So moved.
Armel,
I'll second.
and that was you, John?
Yep.
Okay, any questions or concerns about that? Now, those in favor say aye. Aye, those opposed, nay. All right, that carries. 4.0, public comment, looks like we have none. 5.0, consent agenda, and need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Mark, second? I'll second that. All right, any questions about that at all? And I just want to, Kim, say that pay equity compliance is something we do, what, every 3 years?
3 years.
And we're,
Yep.
we're in compliance with that?
Yep.
Okay.
We have more to vote it.
Yes. Anybody else got any questions on that? Right. Are those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. Aye, those opposed, nay. Right, that motion carries. Okay, that takes us to 6.0, communication reports. 6.1 is Jim Trulock, he is not here.
Yeah, so Jim was unable to join us tonight, but you should have a worksheet in front of you. He had some updates since the last information that he sent out. One is Roman numeral 4, the section dance took place in Montevideo this past Saturday on the 8th, and Mr. Trulock attended, and the girls did a great job, but did not qualify for the state competition. Roman numeral 5 was just added by Mr. Trulock, the Quad County. These are wrestlers. They wrestle against Bold at 6 o'clock at Minneota, and if they win, they'll wrestle Minneota after a 30-minute break. If they advance, they will wrestle on Saturday, 2:15 in Paynesville. One of the reasons for that 30-minute break, you might ask, but within wrestlers, at least in the state of Minnesota, they can't compete in a match within a certain amount of time. And so therefore they have to build that in so that every wrestler has the appropriate rest before they wrestle another contestant. And then going up to the very top, I would like to highlight that Ms. Pieper had 23 McRae students participate at the regional BPA competition in Marshall, and all 23, 100% of the students qualified for the state competition. And they'll be traveling down to Minneapolis March 6th, 7th, and 8th to compete against other people across the state. And then if you look to the very back, there are some statistics that I will not go into great depth, but you can look for yourself in some of the athletic participation. How many total kids in each grade participated in our winter activities. And you can just kind of look at those on your own. Any questions about Mr. Trulock's comments?
Yeah, I talked to Mr. Trulock before the meeting here too. Just kind of a heads up, there's two students that do gymnastics through Benson KMS area, and the team has been having a really successful year. They got second in conference on Thursday, and then their section meet is this Saturday in New London Spicer. So they're doing well. One of them's my kid, so I'm a little biased. But me opposed to the other one, and they're having a really great year. So I think it's worth acknowledging their efforts too.
Yeah, congratulations.
Okay, that's it for Jim's stuff. Okay, Mr. Burton, you're next.
Yeah, I gave you kind of a long list for this month. I'll try to just highlight some of the big things that have been going on. We did that second round of fast bridge testing. That's that January test date. Again, that's for math and reading. And they expect some growth that goes with that. So I'll give you an example. A score of 90 in the fall, to have that same level, you would need, depending on which grade, sometimes a 10 to a 15 point jump just to be the same. So we challenge our staff and students to have 50% of their kids make that gain. So not just stay the same, but a gain above that. And then we went through it all, and the grades competed for prizes. So in reading, every grade had at least 50% of their kids make that bump, and in math, all but one. So a good start for us to kind of look at that data and see where we're going with that. And we use that to kind of put our students in those MTSS, those intervention groups for reading. We did our Q2 celebration then on the 24th. That was our 15 Wolverine winners. We also announced which grades had met their goals for that, and then they had different prizes that grades did. Sometimes it was a movie, sometimes extra recess, sometimes treats for bride. So that took place on that day as well. And then just to point that out, we really take pride in trying to recognize the good things that our students do. So in that first semester, we had 1,407 positive pride tickets. So that's a lot. And then we had 73 referrals in the first 3 months, and then down to 24 the next, so about 97 total. So 97 not so good, 1,400 positive, that's nice to see. So we're still trying to build on that, recognizing kids for making the right choices as they go through it. And that's a big part of the Wolverine Way winners that we acknowledge at those quarter celebrations. Something that seems a little bit minor, but we're kind of excited about it. We tweaked our breakfast schedule. So we went from a set period of time, that kind of extended breakfast for almost an hour in the morning, getting different grades through, to more of an open period. So we have recess first, and then we bring kids in clusters. 4 and 5 are eating at the same time, but now going to the middle school, high school. They're pretty excited. They get their own section on the end. They get more food choices, including often like a hot sandwich or eggs or things like that. So that's been really good. And then it allows our second and third graders to come in early, where 4th and 5th used to be. So they come to breakfast at 7:50, and they've got kind of a 15-minute window to eat. And we line them up and we get them to class. So we're able to start our day by about 8:10 now, compared to sometimes 8:30. So we're trying to build those minutes back in, because eventually we're going to need to get some math interventions in there. We got to create some time for that. But it's been a weekend and a day, and so far so good. Some little things that we're going to tweak with our kindergarten, first grade, how we dismiss them, and making sure we wash our hands after playing. But small things. I think the kitchen staff's been pretty happy with how things have gone as well. And then last week we started with our first ever MCA Academy. So we invited just about 80 kids, a little less than that. And we've got about half of those kids that are attending. So what the MCA Academy does is it gives students that are right on the edge of a partial or doesn't meet, gives them a chance to come in on Tuesdays and Thursdays for 2 30-minute blocks. Some just one, so it'll be either reading or math, and we'll do interventions in small groups to kind of just drill in those basic skills, get them ready for the MCA test, and kind of get them caught back up in the classroom. So it'll be a total of 15 academic dates. The last date will be a pizza party, a celebration, and then we'll have the MCA tests that follow that. And that was generously sponsored by our 2180 Club. So we're really thankful for that. And so far we're off to a good start. In fact, I had 4 more students that turned in slips since I printed this off last week. So we got a few more kids that are joining us this week. So. And then lastly, I was able to attend the MESLA, the Minnesota Elementary School Principal Convention, this last week on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And I'm just really thankful that you allow us to do that, take advantage of those opportunities. Great keynote speakers, really good breakout sessions, and then just a great chance to network with people around the state to see what's working for them, and also just to kind of share the successes that we're having here. And just hearing what's going on in other schools, I'm really prideful for what we're doing here. A lot of really great things, and it's just reminds you how special it is to be here at McCray. So thank you.
Any questions for John? No? All right, thank you, sir. All right, Judd Wheatley, you are next.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. A few things I'd like to highlight for you out of the bullet points I shared. We're going to go with bullet point number 2. We had our, I referenced it last month, but we did have our financial aid FAFSA Parents Night that was held on January 22nd. We'll update on that, as we did end up having 12 families that were able to take advantage of that opportunity and work to get their FAFSAs at least started, if not completely filled out. So that was good. Again, to echo what Mr. Trulock had said about the One Act, we did end up having the One Act team for put on a performance for the student body, which was fantastic. Love being able to have something, especially with a message like that. This hashtag viral for them to see something that sometimes when we talk about bullying and that kind of stuff, it's sensitive, and we all have our own interactions with it and we carry some of those things from when we were younger with us. And so to have it addressed in a manner that's accessible for the students, it was very powerful and very well done. And it's also, last year was a bit of a comedy, so it was a very drastic departure from last year to go to this year with it being so serious. And so thank you to the One Act team and the coaches for doing that for us. It was great. I have this Friday, but then it was last Friday on February 7th. We had a tour of healthcare event sponsored by Minnesota River Valley Career and Tech Ed group, and we were allowed up to 13 students, and we had 11 attend. So I will share that the nursing avenue of careers is something that McCray students really have attached to for a number of years now. So for us to be able to keep providing those opportunities is extremely important for us. So that was a great thing. And again, just working with Ms. Brisley to get those things taken care of and and make sure that we recognize them and make them available to students is super important for us. And then the last thing I have for you out of the calendar happenings, there's a number of big things coming up, including blood drive and the parent-teacher conferences and stuff. But I want to highlight February 12th. So we've got that coming up on Wednesday this week, where we've got our current 9, 10, and 11th grade students will be attending a registration fair so that they can hear from the teachers what courses are going to be offered. Teachers can do a little bit of a sales pitch to them, and that includes bringing in our CEO, our Creating Entrepreneur Opportunities class, and then the Minnesota River Valley will be an option too. So bring them in, let the kids hear about a real quick sales pitch, and then get out and talk to the teachers about what courses are going to be offered so they can start formulating an idea, because when we have conferences, then they start signing up. And the exciting thing, kind of the neat thing, maybe it's a little nerdy, but you vote with your feet. And so it's always interesting to see where the students choose to vote and what classes they want to go into, because then Ms. Brisley and I sit down and we go, okay, we hit a threshold for this, we got to make sure we have this class. Oh, we need to have 2 or 3 sections of this class. And so it's exciting to think about next year and getting ready for fall already. So just wanted to share that with you. Other than that, do you have any questions for me?
No
Thank you.
questions? All right, thank you, Jim. And Josh, you're next.
Yeah, good evening to all. I want to thank you also for allowing me to do some professional development. I attended the Minnesota School Board Association and Winter Conference, which was called Inspire Connect and Leading with a Purpose, and 2 great keynote speakers. One was Mikey Smith, and he was a band director, a junior high band director. I think he was from the Atlanta area. And a number of years ago, let's just say a little over a decade ago, he kind of forgot his why of why he was in education, and he was about ready to walk away from his profession. But then one day there was a junior high girl, I believe, just kind of brought to his attention and just thanked him for some of the things that he did, and they were just small things. They weren't huge, they were just small things, and it reignited him in his why for why he was in education. And so his presentation was called Keep On Going. And after thinking that, or after almost walking away from education, then he became a 7-time Teacher of the Year and also a Grammy Music Educator Award. So he was truly ignited because of that, just that small gesture the junior high student brought to his attention. Also, I got to see Hamish Brewer. Hamish Brewer grew up in New Zealand and has been traveling across the United States, just reigniting schools that have kind of fallen apart and they've lost their positive climate. And he just comes in, he's covered with tattoos, he rides a skateboard, and he tells kids every single morning on the announcements that if somebody has not told you today that they love you, I love you. And so he's just been able to turn around some very difficult schools, and very motivational to hear myself. I went to a handful of breakout sessions, one on school climate, one on networking, budget insight, and then a very interesting one that was called Dancing with the Yeti. And I only attended that just because of the name alone. But in northern Minnesota, there was a group of schools, and I think it's the Evelyn, Gilbert, and also the Virginia schools that consolidated and built a brand new building. And they did it with regenerative design, which means they took the landscape of the property that the school owned, and then they built their school into that. So many of the trees stayed, many of the rocks stayed, many of the natural things just stayed, and really cool and very in tune with that area of the state. And I put a little just synopsis of what regenerative design is. On January the 17th, one of our administrative assistants, her name is Kayla Dumbraten, she came to Mr. Wheatley and Mr. Bertram and I earlier this fall about the possibility of having like an FYI or a frequently asked questions session for those that may be interested in being a substitute, whether a substitute teacher or a substitute para. And so that landed on January the 17th. She did one afternoon session and one evening session, just talking about, what does it look like to sub at McRae, and then allow them to ask some questions. And I'm going to put Mr. Wheatley on the spot, or Mr. Bertram. Do you know how many attended each of those sessions?
3, the first one, right?
Okay.
3 and then 1.
Okay.
What was generated out of it was the realization that planning ahead, let's make sure we have one come late summer so that we can snag some folks and maybe get it out there a little bit more, make sure we advertise it, and make sure we invite them in for the coming school year.
And our goal is just to introduce our school to them and also allow them to introduce themselves to us, to build that connection, to get people in the building to help us out on days that we need substitutes. We have had already 3 out of the total 4 professional days allotted this school year to work on our READ Act. And the MOU for that is in its final stages, where there is compensation for those teachers, and also the possibility they could earn credit too for that. We have started the process of our flexible learning application, looking at the 4-day school week. Jesse, Todd, Judd, Cam, and myself have been working to put together some statistics and a survey that has been sent out. And I was just wondering, Jesse, can I put you on the spot by just sharing? The survey has been out for about a week. And
Yeah,
about-
Wednesday, I think, is when we shared it out.
Okay.
So
And what has our feedback been so far, just in numbers?
overwhelmingly positive. Just focusing in on the parent one, I think we've gotten 230 responses so far, which is actually more than we got in the entire run 3 years ago when we did this last time. We were in the mid 220s for that, so it's not way over, but in under a week. And I think last time the yes continues, the approval was like 87%, and we're actually sitting over 90% right now on approval of yes, please continue with it. This is a great thing. A lot of the comments are focused on, the kids' ability to recover, to focus, to just be more positive, be more excited to go to school. The academic benefits of being able to have that Monday to do their homework, to catch up on things, but then also to do appointments and dance lessons or piano lessons or work. Like for the high school kids, that's a huge one for them, is the ability to work. One kid said it really clearly, but there were a few others that said the same thing, basically of, it's the only day I can work 8 hours. Like I can put in a full 8 hours on Monday. I think that's really cool and huge to be able to have that opportunity for those kids to do that, to really go beyond the scope of what we can kind of do in school and get some of those experiences without having to miss, for an appointment or the dentist or whatever. So
To reapply for the 4-day school week or flexible learning schedule, you do have to have public meetings. And so we have to have 3. 2 of them are going to be nights where there's conferences. So we'll already have the foot traffic of the families and our constituents that are coming in for those days, and they can attend. McRae right now is very popular. So there's many surrounding schools, superintendents that have reached out. Hey, can I see your calendar? Hey, can I see this? Hey, can I come out and visit? So people are asking a lot of questions on how things are done here, and many people, it's intriguing to them. It's causing quite a bit of interest. On January the 21st, Amy from MSBA did conduct a public meeting for the superintendent search, and that video has been posted on the webpage. The next one is very exciting. The Business Education Network, and thank you, Debbie, for your connection, came in this last week to visit in Mr. Zeidema's social studies class, his 8th grade classroom. And Riley Cronin came in, James Miller, and then Debbie came in to present too. So it was great to have that connection, and it didn't take us too long to get you guys into the building. So it was a great connection. As Judd shared, we had Judd and Todd shared, very successful snow week, great pride and great spirit. We had a great coronation, some combined activities with the elementary and the high school, middle school. We had a variety show for the very first time. It was about 45 minutes to an hour or so in length. And this was kind of interesting, but the majority of the acts were elementary kids. And can you imagine being an elementary kid and performing in front of not only your own peers, but everybody, through 12th grade? And we had singing and playing the violin, and we had piano playing, and it was really remarkable to see those, especially the younger kids, perform in front of such a large crowd. I mean, they performed in front of 800 people or more. So that was great. And then we also had an unveiling of our mascot. Our mascot has a name now. His name is William, or Willie the Wolverine. And that came out of, I think there's close to like 80 suggestions by staff and students, and then narrowed them down. Mr. Trulock thought that the Wolverine should have my name, so he actually cast a vote for Jumbo Josh the Wolverine. So, but that did not get many votes. We didn't go with that. But it'll be nice to now have Willie the Wolverine participate in some activities, whether it is, February is Read Across America month. Also too, Willie could go down and visit the nurse to remind kids on how to wash their hands appropriately or stuff like that. So we hope they do some social media stuff with Willie. Elementary celebration, as Mr. Bertram shared, very successful. Not only for the kids too, but the amount of moms and dads that came in, to see their children recognized. And I do want you to know, and this is a hats off right now to Mr. Bertram, but he makes a personal phone call to all those families that are going to receive those certificates, and that doesn't just happen in 20 minutes. That takes some time. And the celebration is nice, but also too, the phone call from the principal or a dean or whatever is remarkable, especially when it's a positive thing. So thank you to both principals for doing those things. To piggyback with the elementary celebration, Mr. Wheatley, Mr. Westbrook, and Ms. Mock are working on just a really great way to help with the middle school and high school be appreciated for the things that they do. And so we've gathered some data on grades and tardies and attendance and behavior. And we've put together a list of students that meet that criteria. And then that list is being sent out to all the teachers with the hope that we get at least 5 to 10 comments, positive comments from those teachers that have those kids in class. And those will be put together on a document and actually mailed home to the moms and dads. Sometimes it's a little more difficult to recognize middle school and high school kids, but it's important to do that. So I think there's going to be some great success with that. It's nice to get something positive in the mail. Virtual calming room. At the beginning of the year, this was something that was introduced to me, and I thought, God, this would really be cool if McRae had this. So I dug around and saw some other districts that had this, and Miss Dalkey, one of our social workers at the middle school, she jumped on board. She said, I'll take this on as a project. So right now, McRae has a virtual calming room that has calming and supportive environment for all people, some stress releasing things, some anxiety releasing things. There's some videos that can be watched, but it's on our webpage, and I would encourage any of you and all of you and anybody that's watching to visit the virtual calming room. A pretty neat resource, and also something we could even use if we had an e-learning day. The kids are expected to go on and look at some of those things. Would be very nice. We're ahead of schedule for 2025. Our paras do need to have a certain amount of PD before they start the school year, and we've got that in the hands of our in the hands of our paraprofessionals, so they can schedule that during this summer. And then policy updates. Minnesota School Board has created a list of about 10 to 12 different policies that may be impacted because of executive orders from our executive branch. And so those things I'm doing quite a bit of homework on and talking to other superintendents too. Many of those items might end up going through the court system first before we as a public school in southwestern Minnesota have to do anything with it, but just to be heads up to those things that I'm working on. And then we also have to remind ourselves too that anything that is a law, even if we don't have a policy that matches it, we have to abide by it. So if we think back, even a year ago when we were talking about earn safe and sick time, even if we wouldn't have amended our contract, our master agreement, we still would have had to follow that because it's a law. So laws will always trump policy. Questions that you folks might have?
No, I did go online and check out the virtual, what did you call it?
Yeah, virtual calming room.
Calming room.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's some music on there
Yeah.
and some games and stuff, and I think I'll have to come back to this one of these days. I haven't done it so, but yeah, it'd be a nice option.
I didn't see any highlights from the Viking season this year. Not sure that was intentional.
What was that in Mr. Trulock's?
Yeah. That got me some anxiety.
Well, you should go on the
Yeah,
virtual
go on.
calming room then. and
That
check
fits
out the
in
music.
perfect.
Yeah.
At halftime.
I didn't see any Viking stuff on there, so I didn't think you were.
That's wise.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, okay, any questions for Josh or comments or? 6.2 is committee reports. Only thing I've got to say is we were at a negotiation seminar today, a few of us, getting ready for the negotiation season, so, when that kicks in, we'll be involved. Anybody else, anything?
I sat in on my first Minnesota State High School League. I'm the elected board official on that group, so it was really interesting to kind of sit back, listen and learn, and we did a bunch of talking about some of the executive orders that were coming out, how do we move ahead with DEI initiatives, things like that. Also did some looking at the officiating and whatnot, and just the lack of officials because of it's not a popular position to be many times because of the fans, and did up their pay grade and whatnot, and also give them some more mileage, hopefully as an incentive to retain some of those that are, we've got a very aging officiating in our area in southwest part of Minnesota, so, yeah, it was interesting. And so we meet, I think, 4 or 5 times a year.
Okay, and I'm sure some of the things that they're looking at are going to be dependent on what happens
Mm-hmm.
with laws and things coming
Yeah.
from the state and
Yeah.
federal level, so.
Yeah.
All right, I guess that's it unless anybody's got anything else. Okay, 6.3 is board discussion. Anybody have anything there to bring up?
I think just, reminding folks that we're still going through the search process for a superintendent, the position's posted, I think it ends the end of, February, I think February 24th or 25th. Okay, perfect. And then we'll be able to roll with it from there. It's kind of that calm, kind of, a lot of work up front, then we wait, and then there'll be a lot of stuff coming on. Yeah, the board, the meetings coming up, there'll be a lot, but, just heard some grumblings in the community about what's the district gonna do? Like, well, we're in the process where this is just as we're waiting for applicants to come in, and then we'll be busy after that again.
Okay, if there's nothing else, 7.0 business items, I see nothing on there, is that correct? That is correct. That's the first time I've ever seen that happen. All right, 8.0 upcoming meetings, just like you alluded to there, Mark, just a ton of them, special meetings and things happening in March there because of the superintendent search is coming around and coming due, so. If there's nothing else, I need a motion to adjourn. John, second? Second. Oh, Carmel, all right, those in favor say aye. Opposed, me.